All right, 25 before the hour. Welcome back, everyone. Great to be with you. Today, if you are just tuning in, we are continuing our series called Our Graceful Heritage by Dr. Grace Vuoto, who's going to be joining me here twice a month. And you can check out her article. We put a link to it at relevantradio.com. It's called How Can a Divided Nation Become One? You'll also find it at the Edmund Burke Institute. And Dr. Vuoto's the executive director and also the founder of that great think tank there in Washington, D.C. And, Doctor, we talked about what's happening in our own culture today. And I'd like to draw the parallel to what happened in the early church as well. But one of the things I've seen come up over and over again, there was a story of a professor in Illinois who got fired for teaching basically moral truth in the Catholicism class that he was paid to teach. He got fired because it was intolerant, his position on homosexuality. At least that's how it was viewed. We have in our culture today this great spirit of intolerance. You know, people are always complaining about how religious people are intolerant, or it's intolerant for us not to allow those with same-sex attraction to marry, or to let women have abortions, or we're always opposing our beliefs on the secular society. But it's never intolerant for the secular society to stop us from practicing our beliefs. And again, getting back to your article and back to this point as well, we see the same thing as well. Liberals have, by and large, succeeded in their attempt to present Christianity as a polarizing and intolerant and divisive force. But that could not be farther from the truth, could it?
That is correct, Drew. And that's what I point out in the piece, that the liberals would have us believe, have us be brainwashed that it is Christianity that is divisive. But anyone that has studied history, as I have, I am a former professor of British and European history, anyone who is educated will tell you that Christianity has historically played the role of being one of the greatest unifying forces in the history of Western civilization. It is Christianity that is a great universal unifier, and it is liberalism that is the great divider. So that is one of the huge lies that has been propagated. I mean, let's look at the facts. In Western history, there were two great unifying forces. One of these was the Roman Empire. And the Romans had this concept, which in Latin is civis Romanus sum, which is translated into English as I am a Roman citizen. All the lands that they conquered, they bestowed equality under the law. And that greatly eased social and tribal tensions. So no matter how far-flung you were within the Roman Empire, you could say, civis Romanus sum, I am a citizen of the Roman Empire, meaning I am entitled to Roman law. That was just absolutely revolutionary at the time, when you usually had empires that would bestow special privileges on the tribe that was at the head of that empire.
So go ahead, Doctor. Sorry.
Yeah, so the Romans that's one of the great unifying forces, Roman law. And then, of course, the other greatest unifying force in the history of Western civilization is Christianity itself, because the Christians propagated a revolutionary idea at the time, which was monotheism, one God, instead of all the multiple gods that the people believed in. And they also propagated the idea that all people had a soul, and therefore they were equal, regardless of their divisions, their worldly divisions. They were equal in the eyes of God. These were really revolutionary concepts that unified many of the vastly diverse people at the time.
And that's the bottom line here. I mean, really, we take a look at liberalism in this country. They would love to see the eradication of Christianity in America. If they were successful, it would be the end of America as we know it.
It would be the end of America as we know it. And, even if we were to grant their great dream that Christianity would be completely purged from American public life, we would not suddenly achieve a society where all the liberals would be unified. In fact, one of the things I point out is that liberalism fosters increasing division because it is based on the pursuit of individual happiness rather than the pursuit of the collective good. And that, by its very nature, means that society becomes more and more fragmented. I mean, you look at what liberal philosophy does to just an individual family, let alone what it does to the national family.
My guest today is Dr. Grace Vuoto. We'll take some of your calls as well from around the country. You can join us here toll-free. 877-ROAM-777. That's 877-766-3777. We're taking a look at how a divided nation can once again become one. And I think there's great parallels from the Roman Empire and the early church to our present day. David in Sugar Grove, Illinois, welcome. You're on the air with Dr. Grace Vuoto.
Yes, I just want to say that your attack on Obama is very much unjustified. He was left with trying to clean up Wall Street cheating and greed, which was deep. He was left with 2 wars. And as far as Christian nation trying to promote democracy, that's exactly what we're trying to do. And I resent in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm a liberal, and I resent your attack on me. That's an unchristian attack. We have a health bill here now.
Dave, I'm sorry that you feel that you've been attacked.
Yes,
I'm sorry you feel that you've been attacked.
I have been.
But what is it that you don't like? What part of the conversation do you think?
Liberals are against Christianity. That's a bunch of crap. That is wrong.
Well, Dave, I think there's ample evidence right now to show that the ideology of liberalism it directly attacks Christianity and many of the fundamental beliefs of the
What about one of your friends who's conservative as heck, Mel Gibson? What's he?
You know what? Mel Gibson, my position on Mel Gibson, and I'll tell you about him as well. I think he's a disgrace. I love what he did with The Passion of the Christ. But the media is very quick to attack Mel Gibson. I'm not here to defend him. But I do believe when you look at the case of his drunken arrest and how he mouthed off and had those slanderous words, and you see this recent attack that Mel had, or the spewing of all this vulgarity, I believe Mel Gibson probably has an addiction to alcohol and maybe even some sort of drug addiction as well. But what does he have to do? See, this is part of what you try to do. You try to take something like Mel Gibson, throw it into a conversation in which we're talking about our Christian heritage and ultimately how Christianity is the solution to the ills of our day, and you try to throw Mel Gibson into the mix.
Getting back to the Obama thing, we've got a health care bill now, and people have got pre-existing conditions covered. Kids can stay on the bill till 26, and even today.
All right.
The conservatives did not want to extend.
All right, David, I appreciate your calling. I'll let Dr. Vuoto respond to you as well. Dave feels he's been attacked, that liberals aren't bad, and that he's a liberal, and he loves what the current administration is doing and finds this offensive.
Well, Dave, I think the proof is right before everyone's eyes. I mean, you have a mass protest movement underway in America that's really been quite unprecedented, and that shows you that this leader has not unified. I mean, that is clear. That is as clear as day. He has not unified us. He promised to unify us. Now, David, you spoke a great deal about health care. There was a lot of consensus about what could be done to reform health care, especially to lower costs. That's not what Obamacare turned out to be. It turned out to be a much larger, much less wieldy program than Americans supported.
Right.
So there's no denying that Obama has instituted legislation that has gone against the will of the majority of the American people. Polls bear that out.
That's
so
right.
These are facts. And he had an opportunity with such high poll ratings when he came into office to truly reach across the aisle and govern based on consensus. He didn't do that, and that's why his party is in big trouble coming up in the November elections.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Dave. I appreciate your call. Doctor, I have to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll take final calls and questions, get some final thoughts from Dr. Grace Vuoto. Our toll-free number here, you can join us, 877-766-3777. That's 877-ROAM-777. Stay with us. We'll be right back.